So this is the train derailment. And then we can select whether there's a spill or no spill just by taking your laser pointer. I can select night or day, and I can select fire or no fire. So we're going to make a spill, we're going to make fire, and we'll select crude oil. And then once you pick your scenario, I have to select the scenario and lock it in. Final answer. So now it's locked in my scenario. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to enter the scenario. And I'm going to do that down here. I can either randomize. No, I can't do that anymore because I already selected a scenario. That's why the button is in green. If I just wanted a random hazard chemical, I would just select that. And then when I come back, or I could even do this now, I could reset the scenario, that screen would pop up and I could pick a different one. That's what that will do. And then enter scenario. Family Feud style, hit the button. So what you have to do first is you have to select. So I didn't click the right settings, so you're not hearing the audio in my headset. So there's like a dispatch talking. So I'm going to select for this oil. I'm just going to go 150 feet and confirm. So what happens now is this is kind of a timed thing. So what's going to happen since I'm talking to you, you're going to see it's going to time out on me eventually. Right, but what you do is you take a quick look. I see that we've got a tanker car, train derailment. There's some fire. I know this is oil or petrol. So what I'm going to do is I have two sets of PPE that I can select. I can select this basic one that I use for oil, and then I can select this one for chlorine or a different chemical. So I'm going to teleport close to the vehicle. I'm going to reach in, and I'm just going to put this to my chest. And see how once you see that your gloves change, you know your PPE is on. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this plug fill, and in the VR environment, when you do this, you'll hear a whoosh. So I know I have this with me, and then I'm going to take, I've got foam and water. So water isn't going to do anything with this oil. So I'm going to grab these with my hand controllers, and I'm going to teleport down here, and I'm going to put this ground monitor. I'm going to push my little button at the top, and you're going to have to figure out with the Oculus Quest, and then I'm going to release that, and I'm going to set that there, and then I'm going to push the little button on my hand controller, and I'm going to do the foam. And we're going to put this out. All right, so we got the fire out. So I can drop that, and I can come over here, and I can save the world and turn my water off. All right. I mean, Love does live in California, right? Minnesota and Illinois, we use a lot of water, right, Mike?
That's true.
So over here, I can see we have some sort of oil spill here, and I can see a hole right here. So see how I take my laser pointer and I go over that? And then I squeeze my trigger and it says, do you want to use the slime bomb to fix the opening? I go, yep. And see that slime bomb in that bucket that I grabbed? Did that. And then what I have to do with this module is I have to teleport over here, and on these tanker cars, there's this valve down here that we want to close. And what ends up happening in this module, and this is some of the feedback for Pixel when we meet them, is I just selected on that and it didn't pop up. So I'm going to push it a second time, nothing pops up. I'm going to push it a third time, nothing pops up. Now it finally pops up. Spill elimination, close the bottom of the outlet, confirm. So now I've closed this, I bombed that, I close that. Also, too, part of this module, what we need to do is I need to go to my risk menu and I need to go to this ask rail. And what's going to happen is this ask rail gives me all the car numbers. And I have to match it up. So this ACFX 94975. So what I'm looking for right here, ACFX 9475, the status, this is a loaded tanker car. The contents, UN number 1267. So now I know what was in that one. And then the way this ask rail goes is the next car, I don't know what this number is, but it goes in order. So ACFX 94975 is also UN 1267. So what I can do is I can look up the ERG guide. I'm going to close this window and then I'm going to search my ERG guide. And this is an app you can load on your phone. If you go to the Apple, App Store, you can load this for free, ERG guide. So it was UN 1267. And then what happens is 1267, what I want to do is declare the isolation distances for this hazard. So the evacuation, isolate spill, 150 feet. So that's what I selected initially. And then if it's a large spill, 1,000 feet. And if it's a fire, it's a half mile. So we had a fire here. So I'm going to declare a half mile. I'm going to do the immediate precautionary 150. And I'm going to do the half mile downwind evacuation. And then I confirm. So I actually completed that quicker than before it timed out. So being that I put out the fire, but if I didn't do that right away, it's going to time out. So now what I can do is I can go to my risk menu and I can go to the completion screen. Do you want to leave the train derailment scene? Yes. So this is another thing with the Pixo. I have to select it a couple times. So here's my report card. So I passed it. Scenario passed. You correctly followed procedure and successfully regained control of the accident scene. Select the arrow buttons to see more details. So the ERG usage, I did good. That was the guide where I looked up the 1267. I went and did the ask rail. If you didn't do that in your risk menu, you wouldn't get credit for those. Speed of action taken, I did good. Evacuation zone, I did good. Decontent, I didn't need it for that spill, so I get a green mark. If I would have put the decontent up, I would have got a red X and I wouldn't have gotten credit. I eliminated the fire, I eliminated the spill. I used my correct PPE and the kit, I used the correct kit and my approach zone was correct. So that gives you an idea of how this, the train derailment, there's, and it shows you how quick you can get through it. And then it kind of gives you that idea of, a little bit more technical on the side of putting the slime bomb, doing your flows, your waters, and then shutting that valve off. The tanker car and the cargo truck isn't like that. So what I want to do now is I want to show you an example of a chlorine spill. It's a little different. I'm going to say spill. There's no fire. I'm going to lock this in. And this is handled a little bit different. I'm going to go enter the scenario. So I'm going to start off with 330 feet. We'll see what happens. I'm going to confirm. So watch what happens if I don't put my PPE on. Well, actually, you're not going to hear it. So if you don't put your PPE on before going there, your VR person is going to start coughing. So that means I've got to get that. I can see chlorine gas is leaking from the truck over there, from the trailer. So I'm going to put on my I'm gonna put on this. And you grab the face mask, and I'm just gonna put it to my body, changes my gloves, and then I'm going to, I don't know what kind of tanks those are. I'm gonna come down and take a look. So those are drums. So what I'm gonna do is, you have these chlorine kits. So chlorine kit A is for 150 pound cylinders, about 150 pound. And then kit B, this is for ton containers. And then for C, this is for chlorine tanks and trucks. So I'm gonna grab kit A and I'm just gonna put it to my chest. And it just went into my chest. I heard a swishing noise. This is the D content. So I can take my laser pointer on it and I can click it, and I'm gonna place the tent. So when I get back, I need to clean myself up. So now I'm gonna come down here. I can see these containers here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to the Ask Rail, and I'm gonna look up ATLX 865. ATL 865, UN number 1017. I'm going to close this one. And I'm going to go into my ERG 1017. I'm going to look up my evacuation. So it's 330 feet. So I got that correct when I came in. And then initial isolation and protective action distances, see table 1. And then for a fire, it's a half mile. I don't see a table in here. I'm just gonna go a half mile, declare isolation. So 330 feet initially, half mile, confirm. So now see how when I select on that container, it highlights. And I have that kit on me, so I'm going to pull the trigger. Says you don't have the appropriate tool to fix the opening. So I'm gonna go back up. And I gotta go get a different kit. So I got B now. Fix the kit with the B kit, confirm. And then you can see how this kit, that's how it would have been sealed by the first responder to seal this leak. So these are considered 1-ton containers. Obviously, they don't look like 1-ton containers to me, but we'll just run with it. So now I've done that. And then now I can go to complete menu, completion. So it said I failed. So we'll see what happened. So I passed the ERG, Ask Rail, speed of action, evacuation zone. So I picked the wrong evacuation zone. So then what I could do is I could go in and try it again, right? But that's how it's a little different between the crude oil and the chlorine.